Now that we've concluded our due diligence, it's time to talk about how we go about structuring a loan. In simple terms, the structure of a loan represents the way the loan is set up to accommodate the best interests of both the lender and the borrower. Throughout this module, I will walk you through the different elements that make up the structure of a loan, as well as ways we go about documenting this structure to ensure that all parties have clarity as to the structure, and also to ensure that the agreed upon terms are legally enforceable. Let's dive straight into talking about deal terms. When structuring a loan, we first try to establish some high-level terms of the loan. This typically starts with defining who the borrower is. This is important, especially when dealing with companies that operate in different markets using different entities. Some companies also operate under a brand name that is different from the name of their legal entity. We want to make sure that we have the details of the right entity as the borrower. We also align on if there will be a guarantor for the loan, and if so, who the guarantor will be. A guarantor is an entity that technically assumes the responsibility of a debt in the event that a borrower defaults. In our dealings, in our dealings so far, the guarantor is usually an entity that is related to the borrower, typically either a parent company or a subsidiary of the borrower. Having a guarantor helps to de-risk the loan that we make, as there is another entity on the hook for the loan in the event that a borrower defaults. Next, the lender. In a typical transaction, this refers to the entity that is providing the facility. For most loans on the Goldfinch protocol, the lenders will be a group of individual backers who stake on specific borrower pools. So hopefully you all that are participating in Flight Academy will be lenders pretty soon. We also decide on the type of facility we're structuring. In our dealings, this typically takes one of two forms. The first of which is a term loan. A term loan is a facility where a lender provides a lump sum of money, known as the principal or the facility size, to the borrower, and the borrower is expected to pay back following a predetermined repayment schedule. I talk about repayment schedules in more detail later on in this video. The second facility type is a revolving credit facility, and this refers to a facility where the facility size is made available by the lender for the borrower's use. And unlike in a term loan, the borrower has the ability to withdraw, repay, and withdraw again as many times as they like any amount, provided that the total outstanding amount at any time is not greater than the facility size. This type of loan helps give added flexibility to the borrower, as interest is only paid on the portion of the facility that is drawn and not the total facility. Next, we try to determine the seniority of a loan that we extend. Seniority refers to the order in which a borrower's debt is repaid in the event that it goes out of business. The highest ranking debt in order of seniority is referred to as senior debt, and a senior debt holder has the first claim on a company's assets. All other debt is referred to as subordinated to senior debt, meaning that in the event of a bankruptcy, a borrower will first pay out all of its senior debt holders before paying off before paying its subordinated debt holders. And for this reason, senior debt holders are usually paid a lower interest rate than subordinated debt holders, as their debt is viewed to be less risky. It is also important to mention that senior debt is often, but not always, also secured debt. I talk about security in more detail later on in this module, but simply put, secured debt is debt for which specific assets have been put up by the borrower as collateral. Senior debt that is also secured debt is referred to as senior secured debt. And this is often regarded as the most senior and least risky type of debt to hold in a company, This is generally the type of debt we like to hold, especially in emerging markets that tend to carry higher risk. Next, we'll talk about the facility size, the currency, the coupon, and the tenor. As the name suggests, the facility size represents the amount of the facility in question. This is typically determined by taking the borrower's needs into consideration, weighed against the amount that the lender is comfortable extending. The entire facility can be committed, meaning that the lender is committing to making available the entire amount based on pre-agreed terms, or they can be both committed and uncommitted portions of the facility, in which case the lender commits to making only the committed amount available and retains the right to make the uncommitted portion available to the borrower at a later date. We also specify the currency of the loan in order to avoid any ambiguity. Typically, this will be USDC on the Goldfinch protocol. Then, the coupon, which is the annual interest that the borrower pays on the facility. This is determined by a number of factors, taking into account the seniority, the security of the loan, the maturity of the company, the market that the company operates, and the type of product that the company offers. And we specify the tenor of the loan, which simply represents the amount of time after closing that the loan's final payment is due. Typically, this is measured in months. And lastly, for this video, we'll talk about the interest payment frequency as well as the principal repayment schedules. For the interest payment frequency, this refers to the frequency with which interest payments are made. And for the purposes of the loans on the Goldfinch protocol, interest payments will be made monthly. And for the principal repayment schedules, this refers to the predetermined schedule with which the borrower is to make principal repayments. Loans typically either have bullet repayments, meaning that the entire amount is due at the maturity of the loan, or are amortizing, meaning that portions of the principal are to be paid back in an agreed upon schedule during the tenure of the loan. So that does it for this video. In the next video, we'll be talking about collateral. Thank you.